Hey everybody, welcome to the cigar show that's not really a show. I don't know how this started. I said several years ago I would never do a cigar show, so I'm naming this not a cigar show. But we will talk about cigars at some point because you can't help but do that. But please welcome my guest can I say guest if it's not a show? I don't know. Rafael Nodal. It's so good to see him.
Thank you for having me here. What a time to be with you. It's a beautiful day. I see in your area the sun is out. We wanted to do the do not. It's not the show earlier because you're smoking from the other side. I'm glad that I am smoking from the office and from the conference room. I get to smoke on the air conditioning, so that's not too bad. Thank you for
I
having me.
appreciate, yeah. Thanks for telling me that right out of the gate. You're under air conditioning. That's good to know. As usual, or as least what I'm starting to do, pick a number between one and five.
Me?
Yep, pick a number between one and five.
Four.
Oh, I was hoping you would pick that. We're going
Ooh.
to 150. So yeah, nice.
And we had the president of the company came to say hello. He saw me speaking
Oh,
too loud next
Hello,
to
how are you?
this is Javier Estades.
He's using my
yeah,
office. So I'm
yes.
just
So he said, "What the heck is he doing here in his
I'm just
conference room?"
calling to say hello.
Hello, it's nice to see you again.
Absolutely. You
He's
guys.
in Orlando doing this called live. Well, actually not live, but we're recording. But he's in the inside outside, so he had to do it earlier.
Okay.
We have the luxury of
Ah,
smoking in the air conditioning, so
Yeah.
we can do it at any time.
Excellent. Well, I leave you guys do your thing.
Thank you.
all right.
Thank you.
Well, I do want to get a couple questions in, and we can talk about whatever we want because we're calling the shots here. I want for those of you that, or those of you watching, those of you that may not know a little bit of the background, I do want to kind of cover that before we talk about a whole lot of other things. But I find your journey in cigars very interesting. And correct me if I'm wrong if I get the dates wrong, but I want to say it was Oliveros brand around 2002.
Yeah,
And I want to say Boutique Blends around 2011.
Boutique Blend 2011. You got those days right.
I'm done. Let's call it. That's it. This is as good as it's going to get. But here's what's interesting. Now, without telling us, this is an interesting journey, and we can talk about Oliveros a little bit and what you walked into out of the gate on that, whether that was what you knew you're going to walk into or not, and then doing your own with small batch cigars. How have you? And we'll talk specifics about different blends maybe later, but have you changed in your mentality? I know we all grow. Have you changed in your approach to blends, particularly through boutique blends and Altadas? Because that's, boutique versus, much bigger company, much more resources, but then also sometimes some limitations on that. So have you personally grown or changed your strategies in blends?
Yes, I have. As you mentioned, we all grow. Alta, this is gave me an amazing opportunity to blend with different brands, which are unique, iconic, and known all over the world. But with that comes an amazing responsibility, right? That I did not have the same problem with Aging Room, especially not Oliveros before. It was one line, and it was a very personalized line, basically putting out what I like to smoke, complex blends. Boutique started as a boutique blend. My aging room started as a laboratory of blends and things. Just because it's my nature to be to look for new flavors and profiles, whether it's in food, whether it's a cigar, whether it's some drinks, some liquor, or whatever that is, coffee. But working for amazing brands, that is a little bit different because definitely what we did is we created a philosophy in each one of the blends or the brands where the blend should go. Basically, I learned that because here when you have a brand like you had, many have worked with many of them, that there's a philosophy of the packaging of the, how you want to show or people to perceive the brand. Well, I did that with the flavors as well. So where do we want to take Romeo and Juliet? The core part of Romeo and Juliet. Then the new part of Romeo and Juliet, like the 150 you're celebrating right now. The Monte Cristo, yes. And that's a gift that we're giving today. Got a number 4, which is a pack of 3 in that beautiful tin. So then the philosophy of Montecristo, where was it? The different parts of the brand, which is the core line, the luxury items that we have been developing, and things like that. And the same thing with H. Oldman, Trinidad, and so others. So that, yeah, the philosophy is when I was with Aging Room alone, I basically needed a blend that was complex, and we work on that. But now, even if I have that amazing cigar, might not go with the brand perception. And so what we have taken the brands is to have a journey of flavors and profile. But the journey, as you know, because you travel and I see your postings of the traveling and the problem.
We'll talk about food and posting later.
And as you know, when you travel and you take a journey, you know, there is you have to go in a specific way and not to depart too much from the first one, because otherwise we'll lose the consumer. And what we want is to enhance the consumer experiences, and with new varieties, new flavor profile. And that has changed for me. And that has been a challenge, or it was you know, it's always a challenge to do a blend, because there's so much responsibility with these iconic brands, you know.
So you have to kind of wear, from my standpoint, is that I feel like you have to wear 2 hats. You have the hat that is very boutique. It's where you came from. It's what you have, and then you have the
who I am.
Yeah, and you have the responsibility. So I understand that this telling the story and maintaining the story on there. That's interesting.
But I think being from a very boutique-ish and a very type of product, that has helped me introduce that vision, or part of that vision, into the journey. You know, I'll give you an example. Romeo and Juliet, the smoking, we started a while ago. We have one very successful Romeo and Juliet, which is Romeo and Julieta Reserva Real, Mero Dominican. Very mild cigar, very flavorful. That's a staple. It's a workhorse. It's probably the best-selling by number of cigar, the best-selling brand in the United States. And we wanted to do a Nicaragua one, right? So we basically, I look at what all of the consumer was telling me that they like about the Reserva Real Dominican, which was words like very creamy, flavorful, smooth. And then we wanted to do the Nicaragua version, but I emphasize that the new blend needed to be smooth, right? And creamy and flavorful. So basically, we took that blend and we sprinkled Nicaragua. That's what I like to say. So it couldn't be a very strong Nicaragua one, right?
Right.
You'd lose them because you lose them, and then that's what we did, and we got a journey. But now for the 150, for example, celebrating. Listen, which brands? How many brands in the world get celebrated 150 year, right? And so we wanted something a little bit stronger, more flavorful. We are in a very good position that we have very good relationship with many people in the tobacco world, and we, for that particular cigar, we took 5 of the most known cigar family in the world, which included Plasencia, tobacco from Plasencia, tobacco from A. Fernandez, from the Turren family in Mexico, from David Perez in Peru, and from Jose Mendez in Dominican Republic. The wrapper from A. Fernandez, grown by himself in Ecuador, fermented in the factory by him in Nicaragua. Then we took it to the factory in Dominican. So, but this one needed to be a lot more flavorful. It needed to reflect more of today's profile, what I like to say, but without losing the essence of what Romeo and Juliet is. So challenging, obviously, because when you are, it's not the same when you start working in a new blend, it comes out, or whatever it comes out is great, right? But now you know what you're looking for, so it's a little bit more difficult. But that's anyway. So that's the challenging and the growing that I have done, and obviously we work with amazing teams at the factories and the New York Tabacalera, and that's always very helpful. I'm the face, I'm talking to you here, but it shouldn't be. It should be the other 3,000 people, you know, that make that possible, but you know.
Right. So as someone, again, boutique background, heart and soul of that, how challenging is it when you go to create a blend for, like boutique is, not easy. Don't get me wrong. There's a million things hard about a boutique, but
Well, that's what
you
we
are
know.
not,
It's in our heart.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you get to play with tobacco that you're like, this makes it, because I only need 100,000 cigars, or I only need 50,000, or I only need 150,000. How limiting, or is it to adapt to, yeah, that's really good tobacco and that's cool, Rafael, but you know what? We can't put out 150,000, so you can't use that tobacco. How constricted it feels?
Yes. It is challenging in that respect because we do the blends and we need to know how many cigars we forecast to sell in the next few years of that, right? To have
Mm-hmm.
that tobacco so it doesn't change. As you know, when you do a smaller version, you can do a limited edition. But we have been using that in our favor because those special tobaccos, we are using it for limited edition, small productions, and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So we still do that. But for the largest one, we also, the relationship with the growers is very helpful. We just don't go to the supermarket and buy the tobacco.
Right.
Yeah. And by the way, when I started, that's what we did, right? We got someone, hey,
Oh,
can I have a
of
little bit of
course.
100
Yeah.
pounds, a little
Yeah.
belt? But now we keep an amazing inventory of tobacco. We work with the growers and we said, this is what we're looking for. These are new varieties we're looking for. They give us some ideas. It's back and forward of information, and then we come out. So we're growing this year tobacco. We're going to go next year tobacco. We decided this is what we want based on what we are going to be working about 10 years from now. And I already been with the company 8 years. So that has allowed us time to look, and that relationship
Mm-hmm.
from the small world boutique has helped me a lot. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
why Alta is recognized to the president. I was here, Javier Estades. He recognized that very, very early that where the industry was going and the challenges and the opportunities for a company, such a big company like Alta, to act in a small way, right? To be
Yeah.
big, but act in a very small way, and that I think is a big difference that we have been able to change.
Yeah, I have to say, and this is probably the only time I'll compliment you that's not over drinks in person. But
Thank you.
when you first went 8 years ago, and I remember it, and I always loved the work and the aging room and what you were doing out of Hochi. And Hochi had great tobacco, and you were able to really make that sing, if you will. I guess I had the same amount of skepticism that you going to Altadas would be you get lost in the system. You just, you got a lot of talent, but it's just, can you fit into the corporation? And I have to say, and where this really shined for me was probably about 5 years ago, and I think it is now, or 4.5 years ago. I started seeing the blends because, your work didn't immediately show up.
It took some time.
It takes a while. So then I remember when they Spokane asked me to do, it's called the Custom Club. And he said, hey, will you do this for you? We ended up doing 2 years. And cigar makers were sending blends they were working on or one-offs blind. So the premise, if nobody knows about it, it was actually a fun run. It ran its course because we could only do it for so long. But basically, we took 5 blends from manufacturers. Rafael participated and did several blends in this. And I sent them I didn't send them all. Abe had to do all the work. Sent it to all the people that were smoking them. They smoked through all 5. And then we had a show that we got together and revealed what it was. And the idea behind it, which I still think is very good, is that you didn't have a brand name. You didn't have a band. You weren't prejudging it. Look, if someone hands me a cigar, we all prejudge it. If I know the brand, I'm obviously making a very big assessment on it. If I don't know the brand, then now I'm looking at the packaging, I'm looking at the band, whatever it may be. So people smoke them blind. And your cigars really, probably if we go back and look at all the ratings, probably had higher ratings. But the biggest thing, and the point I'm getting to, which is taking way too long, is that you were changing a culture and a perception of what big tobacco companies could create because of the limitations we talked a little bit about earlier as far as tobacco and how much of a tobacco you have. And I really felt like that you brought that to Altadas in a big way, was saying, hey, look, you think you know what we're limited to. You think you know what we can't create. Let me show you what we can really create.
Exactly. And that, again, it was a vision of our president, Javier Estades, who came with that idea. And then we had a lot of discussion over drinks, great food and great paellas and great wine. And we developed this idea of what we needed to be. But it started with his vision. And then obviously, if you have a boat and you have a small boat, you can do this, and the boat can move in the water. And when you
Yeah.
have a huge, the new big yachts and the big cruises, you cannot change like that. But you need to know where you're going and how you're doing and the things. And the good things that we were able to show the people here that there's a benefit in this type of thing. So we created. Also, another thing happened. Also, our company separated from ITE from it was a cigarette company, mass market company, to independent tobacco premium. We had the premium division of Imperial, but at the end of the day, we were onto them. And but now we are pure. We continue the same thing, but we're a pure independent company. So that also helped.
I want to stop you right there real quick. So did that free up any pressure? Like, but blends cannot be created by accountants.
Right.
They can't be created by the person's like, here's what we need for the bottom line. Did that free up some pressure as far as that, or what did that do to the separation?
It did. We brought a guy that is in our Tabacalera de Garcia. His name is Adin Perez. He's dependent from Honduras. He's a cousin of AJ. He's a cousin of Plasencia. We brought him to buy tobacco, to be in charge of the tobacco operation fermentation process. We started a new fermentation process. We got a new factory. And so everything was designed from the beginning different, and we were able to expand more because the truth of the matter, every factory would like to have X amount of years of tobacco, right? But in one factory, Tabacalera Garcia, 2 years of tobacco means $150 million of tobacco.
Yeah,
it's a big number, So try to tell them that we need to go to 3, and later to 4, and later to 5 years. That's a lot of a lot of money.
Right.
So you need to prove that there's a really benefit, right? To have amazing tobacco aged for so long. We can maintain the blend. So that has been helpful. That has been helpful, but always with the vision that I started with Javier to where we wanted to go. And then before we fought against that, and we started working independently with AJ Fernandez, with Plasencia. When I got here, we had a small percentage of brand from Nicaragua. Nicaragua is a hard origin, the number one in the United States. So we expand. We don't have factory there. We expand our relationship with them, creating new blends, new projects, new things. So that has allowed us to work in both sizes, and also the operations on our factories. Nothing to do with what we saw 7 years ago, right? So that's the dream. Took some time, but it shows the results. That cigar is coming from you're smoking the 150 from our factory in Dominican Republic, and it is as good as any other cigar in the market.
That's very good. So let's say you mentioned it, and let's talk about your collaboration or working with different who I consider cigar legends. Jochi Blanco, obviously, which is funny because Jochi Blanco is one of those people that a lot of people don't really know him. He's that guy. He doesn't seek the limelight. He doesn't seek, he's not on Instagram. He's not really doing events in the States. He's not even really, he's that heart and soul tobacco guy,
right?
And the factory. I look at AJ a lot the same way. I was fortunate enough to work with AJ. If I still had a cigar out there, I would literally be running an ad saying I got to make with cigars with AJ before it was cool, because now there are a lot of people to get into his factory. But AJ is I don't know anybody better at taking some tobacco and at the farm level and just seeing it. You have farmers and growers, and then you have the factory guys, and so a lot of times that there's some meld between the two. But AJ's mostly, in my mind, he's heart and soul tobacco. He's heart and soul a farmer that way. And so tell me, and the question I'm getting to is that, see, I'm not very good at this. This is why this isn't a show. I don't have like pat questions. So my question is for you is basically, I don't know. There's been very few people that I know that have gone into AJ's factory. And I know, and a lot of people watching this, certain factories have certain signatures. Like I can smoke a cigar and I may not tell you whose brand it is, but I can tell you which factory because there's certain signatures.
Right.
I don't know a lot of people that have done and that's nothing wrong. I love AJ's cigars. I don't know a lot of people that have gone into AJ's factory and come out with a cigar that isn't distinctly AJ's. Right. And you've done that. So tell me about working with like Jochi and AJ and how you do that.
Yeah, Hochi was our first, as a matter of fact, is still part owner of my brand. Hochi allows me to have access to a different tobacco and different vision at the moment we're starting boutique blend. And that something that I love, that I really will forever be thankful, allows to do that. And it was a great working relationship. And then we wanted to continue growing just because Alta is needed Nicaragua production because they didn't have a lot of origin. We started focusing in that. Then we work with AE. Listen, AE is a friend and foremost important part of the relationship. But you clearly said they're farmers. There are some factories that started working farmers, so farmers that start having a factory later, right? And then there are factory owners that have the farms, and then they started to do their own blends, their own brands, right?
Yeah.
And things like that. And there are others brands that went back and started opening a factory, and it's got the farming. So there's a mix of blends of all those areas. However, AJ is more than that. AJ is a visionary. He's a visionary. And he works in a vision, and that's why he has a factory, because the vision has to be manufactured and it has to be put together to be crafted. And then in order to be crafted in his vision, he needs to have the farming. But more than that, the fermentation and the varieties. I have never gone to AJ and I said, listen, I need to do a blend, Trinidad Spirit series, a series of three cigars. And the one with the Caribbean, very Cubanesque in nature, a little bit of that, but not all Cuban. What I called what the Cuban could be, the little modern, but with that Cuban thing. And then we have the Mexico, the Brazil, and then we have the Mexico one. And I went there and said, I want this. He didn't have the tobacco. He got the tobacco. We try it, we fermented it. He worked on all of that. And so it's not other factories. Sometimes you have is this is what I have. I have this. Okay. And that's why you said that you come to the factories and sometimes you say, oh, this comes from there. There's the base, right? There might have been changes on the, but the base is there because the tobaccos are very similar on different things and what have you. But with AE has allowed us to have an amazing array of new tobaccos, new ideas. In Monte Cristo, 1935, I went to AE and said, listen, this is what we want to do. We wanted in this part. This is how we want it. And we started looking for this tobacco. Some of the tobacco he had it, some he didn't. And the project took a few years to get the tobacco, aged tobacco, fermented it again, all the new ones, things like that. So that's why I said he's a visionary more than just the manufacturer and things like that. And then there's another thing. I don't go to the factory to have, that's my job, not to have a cigar made. Anyone can do that. What I brought to my position was I want to create a cigar based on the vision that I have for the brand, where this brand is going. And that is a little bit different because it's a flavor that I have in my mind, which is shaped, by the way, by the relationship with AJ and by his team and my team, because, sometimes this is our pure collaboration. So, it's not this is that, because, both working together, is at the end is a better project, right? But it's based on a philosophy. Based on a philosophy with what we wanted to do. We found a rapper, Onérico, Ecuador, over 20 years old age. That doesn't exist. No one can have access to that. It will not exist again. I can tell you that much. Because it's cost way too money. This was because David Perez was one of the biggest growing of tobacco.
I was going to ask where you got it, but now that makes sense.
One of the the biggest grower of tobacco out of Ecuador, his father started aging that. And his father died, and David didn't want to do anything. So it was more emotional than anything. And we convinced him he didn't want it. And we said, no, it's going to be an amazing project. We're going to do the respect, because in this industry, it's about respect. It's I love it, It's about respect. And we show him a project, which is the first time that you have to convince the grower to allow you
Yeah,
to pay a lot
just
of
to sell
money,
you tobacco.
to pay a lot of money for that, to
Right.
see if it was okay to do it. And that's a challenge. And it was good because it's allowed us to grow and to make it better and to show it. So it's a new type of cigar, a new type of blend within the Connecticut. So all those things we can do because we are using the resources and the relationship. We buy a lot of tobacco from everybody, for
Sure.
our own brands and our factory. So that allows to do these things. And obviously, when I thought of that, ella went and bought it immediately. Ella went and bought it, and it took 3 years after we had the tobacco sitting there, which he remind me almost every month that he had to spend a lot of money and things like that. And so that's what I mean is about a visionary. So that is
Right.
that is the what it has allowed us to make amazing work together.
At the end of the day, collaborations, as you know, I mean, you can't blend by committee. You can get input from somebody. I've found the more people involved in a blend, the worse the blend, or the more the more boring the blend becomes because you're trying to take every palate. So, was there a point that like literally you're working on a cigar with AJ that either you or him are just like this is absolutely a no go, and the other person, well, you're the only one that can override it because it's with Altadas, but
Yeah, in my brand, and I can.
yeah,
Yes, they have been
and then just like he's got to he comes back or you come back and go, yeah, you were right.
in this one.
Oh yeah.
In this one, which happened to receive the number one cigar of the year.
Yeah.
It was completely outside of the flavor profile that he personally likes. And
Right.
but we knew that we had made the first Aging Room Quattro F55 that became the number 2 cigar of the year with Cigar
Great cigar.
Aficionado in Tabacalera Palma. And then we want to do the Nicaragua version, but I needed to make a statement. I knew what I needed to do. And it's like, I'm a musician, as you know, and it's like a symphony, but there are different symphonies. There's a Beethoven symphony, I start, pa, 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 and that is what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted to call attention from the beginning. I didn't want a cigar that will develop. Oh, nice. And, we always love cigars that develops great complexity, but that's not what I needed. I needed to make a statement from the first spot. And that was not what he wanted. But we could have not done in any other factory because it took the moment, as you know, cigars for the years, comes and goes, and the next year you have a new one. So you have 12 months to make it.
Right.
And normally you don't have enough tobacco, you don't have enough tobacco prepared, you don't have enough boxes.
Right.
But that cigar is still as good, if not better, than when it started. And we've seen the cigars that have just sometimes when you get cigar of the year, it's not, it changes just because of the complexity of trying to sell and what you have or what you don't have. But his amount of years, his 5 years of wrapper on that one, it allows to increase production, focus on that and tobacco. But even like that, we didn't release it until we knew that has been aged. We aged the tobacco, that tobacco, a cigar in particular, we ate a tremendous amount of time after rolling, and we didn't do so. We didn't send it that. But and then the COVID hit, and then the impact was even higher. Not at the beginning, we didn't know what was going to happen, but at the later, the impact was more than just the number one cigar impact, and we were able to supply it, to maintain, and that it couldn't be done. I can tell you, it couldn't have been done in any other factory, from my point of view, my limited point of view.
Right. Well, I would also add that the 2019 cigar of the year. Not a lot of people, by the way, have hit that list like you have, as high as you have. I would argue that it is incrementally harder than you're hitting the list earlier in your career because there are more good cigars now. I mean, it's funny how I look at that list, and not everybody's got different lists and stuff like that, and the impact of a list, particularly like CA put out a top 10, 20 years ago, 15 years ago. And everybody ran out and bought all the cigars. And I will say now that that's diminished because there's so many good cigars. Now it's got, then it was
more
top
diverse,
10, then it
more
was
diverse.
Then it was top 5, got the sales. But the 2019, that's an accomplishment because one, it's you again. And as far as having very high up in the list, and two, I mean, it's much harder because in 2019 there's a lot of good cigars out there.
Every year is getting harder. I love the industry, and I'm here because I love the industry. I smoke a lot of cigars a day. My wife will tell you that it's way too many, and about half of the cigars that I smoke a day are other people's cigar. Right.
Right.
So you go to my
Right.
humidor, you got Ernesto Perez Carri. I collect cigar. I love cigars. I buy cigar. I went to a store yesterday. I bought 2 cigars last night after I smoked a tremendous amount of cigar because I want to do. Oh, I sent Jaime last night the picture of smoking the Honduran the
Mm-hmm.
Honduran blue, the new blue. It's an amazing. It's an amazing cigar, and I love to learn, and I am glad when other people make a good cigar. But right now, there are a lot of great cigars in the market. This is the
There
best
are.
time to be a consumer. By the way, I said it last year, I said it a year before, but every
I've
year
said it. I've said it for the last probably 6 years. There's never been a better time to be a cigar smoker.
it's a better cigars. We're working
Yeah.
with better varieties. People
Yeah.
are aging the tobacco more. Competition is good for everything, and it makes you
Yeah.
be stronger, or die.
Yeah. You mentioned music. You're a classically trained musician. And I mean, look, the obvious thing is I was like, do you see, between composing music and blending cigars similarities on there? But what does it mean to you? I mean, because I've seen you play piano. I've seen you. I mean,
I think music, by the way, as we make cut in educations, I always said, don't touch music, which is normally the first one that goes to get caught. Because I think music really has an impact on kids. And I started playing violin since I was 6 years old in Cuba. Then when I came to United States in 1980, I continued in New York. I went to study piano composition, which the piano was very good for that, and then conducting. Um, I think the music has allowed me to see the life in a different way. I see
mhm,
life as a series of rhythms, right, with different tempos and rhythms and different themes, and I see blending the same way, right? The same way. It's a creation because
mhm,
think about it. In music, you have 7 primary notes, and everything that you hear in music, whether you like rock, whether you like
same seven
classical
notes.
opera, same 7 notes.
Yeah.
Change the rhythm, the form, and that's exactly what we do with the tobacco. So the tobacco, we have actually a lot more variety in tobacco, so the opportunities of creating something new is even more. And you have the origins, the varieties, the type of tobacco. You can do many things. So I approach that as the same way. Sometimes when I do um, a new blend, um, I um, I know what I'm looking for, and then that's a little bit more challenging. Sometimes
Hmm.
when I do a new blend, I don't know where I'm going, and it's just where the blend is going to take me. And then to see which project I can fit it with or can match it well.
Hmm.
But the music is the same thing. Sometimes I sit on the piano and just whatever comes out, and
Hmm.
something good or something not good, something came out. Uh, but sometimes I want to know exactly. I want to do a love song for my wife. Okay, so
Hmm.
that's it. I cannot. No, I have to do
Right.
different
Right. Right.
things. So a minor or more sad or more music, minor chord versus major chord, which has different impact on the ear. So the same thing in tobacco. So for me, everybody has a different book of how they're amazing tobacco blenders and tobacco people and masters. For me, has been another, but for me has been different because of my music background. That has impact or actually dictates how I work on that.
Hmm. I have forever tried to find an analogy that explains how we can have so many different cigars with a set number of tobaccos. Obviously, there are variants because you can have a different farm, you can have a different part of the leaf, you can have different fermentation. That is an excellent analogy with the notes. I will use that and attribute you to that because it's dead on. It's exactly right. And trying to explain all that, it's interesting how you see that.
And that explains why we have so many tobacco people that are musicians. Ernesto Perez Carrillo, you have Abe, you had Abo,
Tons of them. Tons of them. Yeah.
Nick with the drums. There's just a lot of them because not only when you're a musician, you're also a creative person, right? So especially when you compose, you have to be creative. How you interpret the music, but also a very creativity. And then you have that with anillos, right? The color that goes
Right.
matches and
Sure.
vision and things like that. And now in a colorful part of my life, that's the way it is. I wasn't always like that. I always dress in a corporate environment, blue, black, brown.
Right.
I'm changing. So I got my Sonata in a yellow one. I got the new blue. I mean, it's just a different thing. And that's how I feel with the blends. It allows me to create because we are all very tobacco business. It's a very creative. And also the next thing about tobacco people is that very optimistic. The very few businesses where you plant the seed and 10 years later might be or might not be a good tobacco
Right.
and or 3 years later or 1 year later, and then you have the fires, the weather, all these things, and may not sell even if it's a great cigar. So you have to be really optimistic, I believe,
Right.
to do that. So I think the tobacco people, in addition to be creative, we are the most optimistic people in the world.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, everybody I know in the industry is definitely that. I think you brought up a really good point, though. In schools that cut programs, I had music for 6 years in school and played a couple instruments. And look, I was never going to be a musician. I wasn't. I took art classes. No, I'm
Yeah,
not going to be an artist. I had acting classes. I'm not going to be an actor. But those are all things that people say, well, no, we don't need them in schools because we don't need more musicians or we don't need more artists. We don't. But people don't realize how
right.
short-sighted is and how well-rounded someone becomes. And you use those skills, whether they're specifically music or I remember sitting I mean I never made it to first chair for trumpet. I was third chair. That's as close as I could get. But I still think of those skills and the things I had to learn. Same thing with art. And so our industry is definitely has that meld of different backgrounds and stuff. I remember I was at an event just with a bunch of cigar makers. We were all there, and I remember five of them going up and just starting to play music. One's on drums, one on the bass, one's on like all these people that just have this background, and music is certainly one of them. Let me change gears a little bit. Tell me something that you've been excited about lately, but is not cigar related. Tell me
Oh
something that
well.
just excited
Oh
you.
well. If you look at my social media, which by the way I encourage your people to the listeners and the viewers
Tell them where to find you on social media.
In Instagram, Rafael Nodal, not Rafael like Nadal, like the tennis player, the other imposter that uses my close name, but Rafael, Rafael Nodal, in Instagram, and the other ones as well here. If you watch my things, food
Yeah,
is
yeah,
and even more than that right now, wines, right? Which I'm leading studies and really learning a little bit more. And it's funny because I'm on a diet right now, but I said, listen, after the pandemic, man, being at home and the cooking and I didn't
yeah.
cook before. So cooking right now, and especially the wine, has become a passion of mine. Because I believe if you like cigar, it's because you like some of the finest things of life. By the way, I saw you posting the other day like a roll with something inside of pork and then bacon. It looked
Yeah.
like something directly to the heart. But finding those flavors, right, and finding those things. But it's so I just love some of my passions. Traveling has been a passion for a lot. Thanks God to my wife that I always wanted to go to the same place all the time. The vacation, now we visit the world, we run, because what I have found, all these things I have in common that lately define the wines. What I like is this discovery, and this is what we do with the blends, right? Because
Right.
so, eating right now, which is hard because I'm on a diet, but at least prepare a plate and I do the best I can, beautiful presentation, and then I eat one quarter, which sucks, but it's helping me with to be to have some discipline, right? Which
Yeah. Yeah.
I normally don't, not a very disciplined person.
No, I look, you're the only person that outfoods me, I think, out there that I can think of out of the gate. I love to cook. I wanted to be a chef when I was young. I love to travel and find new foods. My wife, I married very well. My wife doesn't want jewelry. She doesn't want fancy clothes. She just wants to travel.
Love
So,
it.
I mean, that, yeah. So, but the discipline thing, I got to get there. I'm that guy when I'm someplace else. I just got back from Madrid and Barcelona. And
What
it's
an
not foods.
amazing trip, man.
I know, and it's not food you get all the time. So I'm like, I'm not gonna pick one thing. I'm gonna be that guy that orders like 6 different things and throw them on the table, and I won't finish it, but I want to try all the foods. And if anybody has not had the opportunity to travel or is reluctant to travel, beyond the food, because the food thing's amazing, but the cultures, and I wish. The one thing for people in the States, it's very convenient for young adults in Europe to experience other cultures because they
Very
can cross
close.
a border, they can jump on a train. In the United States, it's much more work. I like that, England has a gap year where they're not even expected to go out of high school and into college without taking a year off to go travel. And I really think that, if a few more people got to travel and a few more people smoke cigars, there'd be a lot less problems in the earth, because you'd realize that 90% of all people want the same thing. They want their family safe. They want to have a better opportunity for their children. They want to support their parents and children, and so traveling, you realize how much more the same we are than we are different.
Absolutely. And what I have in all of these things that I like, the food, the wines, and the traveling, for me, or the music, for me, it's getting inspiration for life, right? I
Yeah,
love to wake up and see the sun and say, wow, what an opportunity. I'm alive, first of all. I mean, that's
right,
a day for celebration, right? We're alive.
right.
I'm doing something that I like. So I don't call this work. It's not easy, by the way. Nothing in life is easy,
No,
because then you
no,
have the other part when we do this traveling a lot in cigars and the shows and the roads and the amount of events. I did a series one time in social media of the other side of the story, which is the planes not being on time,
right,
planes
right.
being canceled, snowstorm that you have to drive because you made a commitment, and then you have to drive because you couldn't fly because they closed the airport, and so on. So there's difficulties. And by
Yeah,
the way,
nobody sees the win when you go travel and do a bunch of events and you're allowed to stay in the same hotel 2 nights in a row. That's a win. That is, you
or
get to
like you
leave
have
your
no
luggage
idea,
behind.
or you wake up in the morning and you have no idea where you are for a couple of seconds. Where the heck am I? Where am I today?
When you check in a hotel, do you take a picture of the folio so you know what room number you are when you come
I
back? I have
know.
to do that.
I have
I
in
have to.
Orlando. I did an event.
Yeah.
I went to Orlando. I do an event. I think it was Corona. When I went back, it was an area that has several of the different hotels. And I went back to another to hotel, which I swear it was my hotel. I asked for, hey, my key doesn't work. They gave me a key, and it was a different hotel.
You went
And
all the way to the room? You went all the way to the room?
I opened the door. They believed, they told me. I said, yeah, well, they didn't check. The guy didn't check. Oh, yeah. But I had to tell you, it is amazing, because since these days come, I've been on the road for the last 4 weeks nonstop. This is the first week that I'm in the last 5 weeks in the office and at home. And last night I visit stores and I did events and things like that. So it is challenging, but I tell you, traveling. I always said, if the people that make decisions in the world will get in a room with a cigar, the world will be a different thing. Because when with a cigar, I call the cigar lounges and cigar stores laboratory of society, of
Mhm.
democracies, laboratories of democracy of society. Because you have a Democrat, you can have an independent, you can have a Republican, very hardcore, you can have a doctor, a mechanic, and you can touch in uh, issues that you will normally not talk, but
Sure.
out of respect, because there's one thing that puts you together, which is the love for the cigar. And that, I think,
Right.
this is one of the few products in the world that will make that happen.
Yeah, you've seen enough lounges, and I have too, that every lounge thinks they're unique in their makeup or whatever their 12 people are. And I say it's the same 12 personalities in every single lounge. There's the guy that has a lot of money, that has to show he has a lot of money. He has to make sure everybody sees the outside of the band that he's smoking. He has to have the fanciest lighter. You have the guy that has more money than him, that is dressed completely plain clothes, that does not talk about money, doesn't need to. And you have everybody in between. And it's just interesting, the makeup of that, which is why we can walk into a random cigar lounge and it feels like home a little bit, because
Right.
we go there, we solve the world's problems. We get up the next morning, it's all messed up again. And we got to, like, go back to the cigar shop and solve the world's problems again, but
Exactly.
respectfully.
And you feel at home. I went last night to Cuenca Cigar in Hollywood, and very close to my house. I finished an event, and I needed to relax on a cigar. And I wanted to, and I have a cigar lounge in my house, but I went there because I wanted to talk. No business, no selling anything. We just wanted to have a nice time, and I did that. It's just amazing. It feels like home.
Yeah. What do you think? I have in my mind one, but what do you think the biggest threats are to our cigar culture right now?
Oh, it's like it has been for a year for me. The government. The
All
government is
right.
always the biggest issue for me, right? Obviously there are others, but I think the government. I come from a country, a communist country, that they told you how to think,
Hmm.
how to behave, what to believe, and obviously we see how that ends up not good. So the government sometimes want to have control. They say, well, this is not good for you and you shouldn't
Hmm.
do it. Or let me tax you to death to make you, or not let you smoke here, or pass laws that if you were born after this, a year, you cannot ever smoke. I mean,
That's my biggest concern, is the generational bans, actually, long term. But
it
yeah.
doesn't, but, it's a paternalistic society when you tell people what they should or what they should do, right?
Right. Right.
By the way, because they can tell us the same thing, you shouldn't eat McDonald's because, hey, it's
Sure.
too many calories. Oh, by the way, you shouldn't use this color in your hair because it's actually a chemical that is freaking, cancer, whatever. It can be hundreds of things. But why do you need to tell? You want to tell the facts if you want, okay, you tell them the facts, education or whatever, and then you let people make a decision, right? So that is
Right.
the government that has done it in different ways with the taxes. As we know, we pay more on the taxes, and because they're trying to influence this. And why a tax is here to pay for certain things that you don't do it when you buy an orange? Why is this different?
Right.
Well, you're just smoking, you should pay for this.
Right.
Doesn't make any
Right.
sense. So the government, I think, because, and even with that government, very difficult and unfair interference in our product, still is there's a renaissance of younger people, professionals that are not only using the cigar as a way of celebration, like we've always been, but also including the daily things, because they are tired of the cookie cutter, same type of restaurants, same type of thing, and they wanted something, that a product that is made with
Right.
so much history, so much love, and so much passion, and so individual, that I think we got a lot of new, younger audience looking at this and enjoying it.
Yeah, that, in addition to travel, I think people that are cigar smokers, if they have an opportunity to go to a cigar event, Pure Sabor in Nicaragua, Pro Cigar in Dominican Republic, I remember when I started, way too long ago now, I remember hearing, the passion, and it's about family and heart and culture and stuff like that. And I remember thinking, I'm a marketing guy, so I'm like, oh, that's a great
Yeah,
marketing
yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah.
And then when you go down there and you see it firsthand, either as a consumer or somebody that goes down there and wants to make a cigar, and how open people are. For me, AJ, what he taught me there was amazing. And this is stuff that he doesn't have to tell me, but when they see that you are generally trying to promote the industry, or, better the industry, the doors that open, the people willing to help each other along the way in the industry is remarkable. And so then when you see how many people are involved in the creation of a cigar. Yeah, we get a lot of credit. We're sitting on Zoom calls or whatever. We do an event, we roll into an event, and you're the guy. And people don't see that there are hundreds of people, hundreds and hundreds of people behind that to get that cigar to the shelf, to make it happen. And then at that point, you realize, I'm not going to complain over a cigar that is $10, $15, $25 for a special occasion, whatever it might be, because you realize how much work is in it.
No, no, listen, when you see that, you will never ever complain about the price. But in addition, you will have a bit different understanding. Even if you love the cigar, you will love it even more because you see everything
Hmm.
that is behind. So you're right. The Puro Sabor, which is an amazing opportunity to not only to mingle and learning with people from the industry and the people that are really dream and made the industry what it is. I know you're a good friend with Quesada. You know what a what a legend in the industry, for God's sake,
Hmm.
and his family and all that. So the thing is, not only you have that opportunity, but then it's a celebration of our
Hmm.
culture, of the way of
Yeah.
living and how we do that. And then the Nicaragua, a little bit smaller, different because it is done right there where the tobacco is growing. So you go out of
Right.
the hotel and you see the tobacco farm. That I think is an important. I tell everybody, and they think that I'm getting paid for the recommendation for this festival because I tell you, you want to go because you can visit factories, go one individually and do this and that.
Sure.
But that's
Sure.
an amazing opportunity. Like the first time you traveled that I did Greece and the islands, I took a cruise. And I
Right.
went to all the things, and then I said, oh, "Great! Now I know what I want to do, where I want to go." And then I went on my
Right.
own and spent an experience. But the first one, I think the festivals are an amazing opportunity. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah, the access to the culture and the cigar makers themselves. You can walk up and talk to legends and they'll talk, that's what they're there for. They everybody's of like mind. I'll let you go. I know you're busy, but I do want to ask a couple more questions. You do post a lot of food. You beat me in that department and they're all prettier. You played them up gorgeous. Uh what's your last meal?
Well, actually, 2 nights ago, I
No, no, no,
had
not the last meal you had. I
for
mean,
my last meal.
this is your
Oh,
you get to dictate your last meal. What
actually,
is it
it's
going to
the
be?
same meal. It's the same meal that I will have. That I had 2 nights ago. Pizza for me is the most simpler and one of the most amazing dishes ever. And I like complexity of my food, but pizza for me is at another level. If I had to choose, and actually I talking to my wife a couple of nights ago because I had pizza and I have working on my diet. I hadn't had bread maybe in the last 2 or 3 months, and let me tell you, it was like, oh. So if I am ever known that it's my last meal, pizza will be.
I would not have guessed that. That is I look, I have a pizza oven back there. So I mean, yeah, I would not have guessed that. I love pizza too. I like bread. I like bread way too much.
But
But
it's because of the complexity. You see my meals, right?
oh
And I
yeah,
like the things and what have you. But I think sometimes in life, just like in food, just like in cigars, sometimes the basic things are amazing. So you don't need to put so much things on the pizza. Pizza
you're
is
right.
good. You may create different flavors on the pizza, but the basic is such an amazing
Right,
combination
right.
that doesn't mean for that. That for me, for sure. That's the only thing that I can eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner for months
Yeah.
and not
Yeah.
to get tired. Which I
Yeah.
don't when I have no money, by the way.
And you're right about it being simple. It's one of the things I like. So my wife and I, when we travel, if it's countries we haven't been to, our first rule is we don't go to a menu that's written in English. And what you find other countries, Greece is a very good example of that. Simple food done right.
Yeah.
Spain, simple food done right. I've always said I'm happy with a $5 cheeseburger. I'm happy with a $150 steak that's supposed to be, great. It's the middle ground I don't like. Just do whatever you do and do it well, and wherever the price
Do it
point
well.
falls. And I feel the same thing about cigars. Do it right, do it well, wherever the price point falls, so be it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And by the way, since we are the last part of the show, what will be your last meal if you do? I know I
Oh
shouldn't be asking you
gosh.
this, but you asked it to me because you had a different part, knowing my posting, right? So, but knowing on that, what would you, if you have to choose one? It's hard. I know it's hard.
Well, so up until a couple months ago, I thought I knew what that was, but what I'm in love with, and I think you saw the post because we
Ham,
texted
ham,
back and forth.
hamon.
Well, no, the ham, yes,
Yeah.
but the tapas I had
Ah,
that was on a slice of baguette, a small piece of filet mignon, and foie gras on top. And
Let me
both of
tell
us,
you,
Albert. So you went with Albert. I went with Albert. We both did the
same
same. We both
place,
did the same thing. Same place. Both did the same thing. Said,
dessert.
"What do you want for dessert?" I want another order of these.
Amazing.
So
What a
that might,
combination.
and it's three things. It's
What
three
a
things. But
combination.
oh
I
yeah,
have not, because I love foie gras, pot with the meat and the way it is. But that's that country, and especially going with people that love to eat like Albert. I spent
yes.
that black. I mean, how many people will travel to another island to have a black rice? Now.
That's what. So but if anybody doesn't know the story, we were having paella in Barcelona. And Albert and I both like the black ink paella, which he'll make sometimes in the DR. And he's like, well, if we want to have black, we got to go fly to the island. So literally 2 days later, we get a 9 a.m. fly to Menorca, go to a place, and it was outstanding, and spent the day there and flew back at midnight. So yeah, Albert's definitely a foodie as well.
Like us. But yeah, so that last meal, well, that actually is a very good. That was a very good meal. That's a very good tapas that
Oh,
amazing. So that's a good
outstanding.
call. I think that's a good call.
Yeah.
If you can find who can make it, that's the only thing.
Well, I'm gonna try and make it here. I'm gonna try and make it. I've already trying to source where I can get similar foie gras, because that's really what it comes down to. The filet mignon's easy. Bread, I make bread, so that's not a problem. Last thing. So someone is either newer to your line or wants to revisit Altadas as a portfolio. I know it's difficult to say, well, are they mild, medium, or full? But what cigars are kind of close to your heart right now that you'd say, you know what, I'd like you to go out and pick up one of these and try one of these if this is
Yeah,
your wheelhouse.
and I
And
think
I'll make it a little bit easier. I'll say Dominican and Nicaraguan to make it a little bit easier for you.
yeah. Listen, we work with a lot of blends, and we put a lot of new blends on the market. In my line on Aging Room, my own line, I got the Quattro Stronger, I got the Sonata Medium, but I got the new Concerto right in the middle. And then we do a lot of things. For any of the lines, I think one of the cigars right now that is epitome of what you can do with blending, from my experience, or my limited experience, and from my way of looking at it, it's been the Aging Room Concerto. Because if you like a strong cigar, if you like a lot of flavors, if you like a mild cigar, a medium flavor, because this is a cigar that we have been able to create, or discover, because I have all these things, whether you create blends or you discover blends. So I'm more in the discovery time, I believe,
Hmm.
that you put something together, and it's just the discovering of that combination, which is like maybe Newton or all these people thought when they discovered something, they didn't make it, but they discovered that combination. I believe right now it is, I am in love with every single cigar that I make. I am responsible because that is me. That's what I'm trying to do. But very few cigars have that complexity, flavor, and I would recommend the Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua Concerto. Unique, flavorful, different, and one thing that I will say is sophisticated. So whether you like, by the way, there's so many great cigars, and we put out right now a lot of great cigars. So anyone, but this one I think encompasses many, many different things that at the
Right.
end I can only do it. That's why I put the name. I already had a side called Concerto in the line, but when I work on this blend, it was going to have a different name, but it is a concerto flavors. Sometimes you have an
Right.
instrument. Concerto is a musical term used for a classical music, used for one instrument and the orchestra, and sometimes that instrument that has the solo. Sometimes the orchestra has the certain areas that are stronger, and this is, I believe, that's why the name came, as I have to use the name, and when you try, why, because incorporates all that. So and then, by the way, the new Montecristo new, but it's more specified on flavors to a certain audience, or the
Hmm.
1935 to a certain audience, but this one I think is for a more broader, and so far everybody has tried, whether a novice or a connoisseur, they have liked this one.
That's a great answer. It's an unfair question. It's like saying picking your favorite kid. You have one, but you're not allowed to say it out
I
loud.
wish I do, but I don't say it.
Say it. That's all right. That's right. Well, Rafael, thank you so much for hanging out. It's always great to talk to you. I'm going to stop the recording and we can hang out a few more minutes. But thank you very much for
No,
joining
thank
me.
you.
And
I really appreciate it. What I like about this format, Fred, is that it allows you to go deeper in size. Sometimes when you are in a show, which I love to do, to be able to every opportunity I get to talk about what we do, I take it. Sometimes they're a shorter period of time, and it's hard to really go deep in an idea and develop that idea because you got a constraint of time and advertising and all that. So this is great, has been an honor for me. I appreciate it. I'm glad you are what you're doing right now. You have been a long term in love with the industry, and this is something that we appreciate it.
thank you. Thanks a lot.